Well, my friends, I can't believe that we're back here in this moment doing this. I never thought I'd have to do this. I thought it'd be 20 years before I had to perform this again. Now, some of you guys might be asking what that is, and some of you more keen viewers might have noticed the transmission jack behind me because, lo and behold, we are pulling the transmission out of the pit bull for the 4th freaking time. To put you guys all to rest, no, it is not the transmission, which is so freaking good. I know what you guys were thinking that. Yeah, the 700 R4 is fine, but there is kind of a deeper problem, and we think that we may be on to something of what's actually causing that crazy noise that you guys heard previously. We're gonna throw the pit bull up on the lift. I'm gonna show you the stuff that we figured out, and then we're gonna work on pulling this transmission. So, luckily, as you guys know, I'm really good at pulling transmissions, so this should be a breeze. Alrighty guys, so after doing all of the different diagnosing and stuff, checking for loose bolts and whatnot, we started playing around with the torque converter, the transmission, because in a vehicle, when you hear a noise, it's hard to actually like dial in where it's coming from. So what we found was if we grab our torque converter and we move it, there is about a 1/4 inch of movement. Just for perspective, this thing's not supposed to move at all. So we undid the coil wire and we took out the fuel pump relay, and we went to turn this thing over, and we just heard this really loud thud, and that's kind of what led us to down here. Once we found this, we watched it. It's hard to tell if it actually has some type of drag or it's smacking, but either way, that movement is not supposed to happen. So we're suspecting flex plate issues to the crank. Again, like, we're not really sure. This is a whole new problem. I asked one of the transmission guys, and he said he's never seen movement like this before. So the pit bull's just coming out with all kinds of tantrums. With that said, we're gonna pull this out. We're gonna fill you guys in on what we find out. If you guys have a problem similar to this, hopefully this video will help you. As far as the vacuum leak that we think we have, I tightened down the intake, but the gaskets might still be bad, so I may have to pull that. We just figured this is probably a better place to start because we don't want to keep on turning this thing over if it's just jacking up more stuff. So, transmission's coming out, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm gonna go cry in the corner. Ooh. Hey. But the cutout does work, by the way. It works great. And the tires look sick. And the roll bar looks excellent. Seems like when I started doing upgrades to this thing, it just started hating life. Maybe I should just put the bald 35s back on and like everything will go back to normal.
Mitch, you burned those bald 35s.
Gosh dang it, I blew them up, didn't I? All right guys, so we're only a couple of bolts away from getting this transmission out. I just unbolted the torque converter from the flex plate. Oh shoot. Well, if that isn't perfect freaking timing. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, ladies and gentlemen. So, I promise this was not staged. I swear to you this was not staged. We just had a flex plate bolt fall out from in there. So, that is 100% an issue. The flex plate must be loose on the crank, which if we spin this guy around, there's not much noise. I heard rattling. That's actually what I wanted to show you guys, and it must have been this bolt right here that was rattling around. So I'm gonna keep pulling the rest of this thing off. Obviously I'll have to put this one back in or whatever and diagnose what others are loose, but that's actually hilarious that fell out. I wish I would have staged that. That would have been such a good idea. But lo and behold, as fate would have it, this is one of our main issues. So with that said, we're gonna keep pulling this out. Hopefully there's no damage to the crank or anything behind the flex plate, but we'll see when we get there. So wish us luck. Alrighty folks, so record time of 3.5-ish hours, something like that. The transmission is out. I forgot how complicated taking this thing out was, just all the little steps along the way. But this thing is out, and what we believe to be the issue, as you can see if you guys look close, I don't think any of these flex plate bolts are tight. They are literally all finger loose, and one of them is gone, which I talked about before. So that is 100% an issue. If you guys hear any crazy noises, I wouldn't say check this first because it's a lot of work to check, but put it on your list of things. Upon talking to a couple different people, they've never seen this before. Why these would walk out, I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure I used Loctite, pretty sure I torqued them down to what they were supposed to be, but stuff happens, you're out on the trail, you're out in the sand, just, you know, getting gnarly, and you get to deal with the repercussions of having fun sometimes. So I'm gonna pull this off, I'm gonna inspect it, I'm gonna do all that I gotta do, and we're gonna put it back on or find another one to put on if this is jacked, and stick this thing back up. So crazy stuff, man. While I'm down here, I might as well clean this thing, right? A little bit of sand, hollow sand. Yummy. Oh. Yeah, those holes look kinda jacked. All right, so just kind of checking the flex plate out. Nothing looks cracked on the outside or really bad. This hole, there's a little ream in it, some wear and tear from those bolts just getting so much abuse, spinning because they were loose, is what I'm guessing, right? We're still only assuming that this is the big major noise. We get to plug all of this back in, and then if it doesn't make noise, then it worked. But for right now, that's kind of the only issue I'm seeing.
I'm not assuming.
I'm assuming.
I'm not assuming.
I'm assuming that this is the problem.
Loose flex plates.
Because it could have furthered an issue, you know?
Didn't.
So we could throw it all in there. I'm just being a pessimistic.
I guarantee this is the issue, and it's good because this flex plate is actually balanced to this motor, and we didn't really even hog out the bolt holes, it doesn't look like. I think we're just barely getting to this guy on time.
Very weird is there's no remnants that I can see of Loctite, yet I'm 96.5% sure that I put Loctite on these. So I think that was a green light to put this back in, torque these puppies down, and stuff this thing back in, which I'll probably wait till tomorrow to do because I don't want to do it today. But there you guys go. Not too much junk with the flex plate. No other issues that we can see. Everything else looks fine. So let's button her back up. Ba-bam! Alrighty guys, so again, this is an off the leash. The whole purpose of this is to show you guys that we deal with some of the same stuff you do. So we stripped, or this was already stripping. Maybe this was the one that was kind of going around in there getting honed out, but this is pretty stripped. We're not able to torque it down. And of course, we don't have any of these sitting on the shelf to pull. But good thing is we're getting them in tomorrow. So we'll wait for that to come in, we'll put the last bolt in, we'll torque all of these down again, and then we'll stuff the transmission back in and see how this thing does. For today, we're calling it quits, and we're gonna go work on something else. What that is, who knows? But catch you guys tomorrow. Peace.
Peace.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, so after a couple days of wrenching, I realized that I am actually really good at taking transmissions out, if I do say so myself, because that was super quick. I think the biggest thing I had to remember was the fact that I had to take the header off to get to the last transmission bolt. It's a pretty quick process. You can have a transmission in and out of this thing, or out and in this case, in less than a day. Anyways, I'm kind of rambling on. Flex plate is torqued down. We used all new hardware. Again, we inspected it, it all looked fine. So we threw it back in there. What we're gonna do now is I'm going to actually jump down. I don't know why I was up there in the first place. I guess it makes me feel taller. But we're gonna hop in, and right now I've got the coil wire off and I have the fuel pump fuse pulled. And I'm just gonna crank this thing over so you guys can hear, and we're all gonna listen, make sure there's no crazy noises. Here we go. Boom, no big deal. Okay, so that's good to know. Makes me super happy, honestly, okay? Because, sorry, my camera guy just ran into a pole. That makes me super happy because it means that the work we did, which was very minimal, was effective. So, I'm gonna plug the fuel pump fuse back in, and I am going to put the coil wire back on, and we should be good to go as far as getting this thing started. Now, as far as the vacuum leak that I had, I went through and I tightened the manifold bolts. I don't think the problem is solved, unfortunately. But, might as well give it a go. So I'm gonna hop up here. Always a good idea when you start your vehicle to be inside so that you can press on the brake in case you accidentally put your transmission into drive. So, and I've only heard the horror stories, folks. But let's see if we can get some go right here. Listen to this for a second. Listen. You hear that? I'm gonna hit the gas, and then it's gonna rev up, obviously, and then it's gonna like die down. Listen. So that's kind of interesting. I don't know if you guys could hear me yelling or not. It's not as bad of a vacuum leak right now. At least it doesn't sound like it. The idling sounds kind of high, but also I've got the cutout put on, which is a totally different sound than the screaming that I'm used to. So that was also maybe throwing me off a little bit as far as the sound. And also I smell something, which is, it's weird. Classic Broncos, man, you never know what kind of problems are gonna come one after the other. But that actually worked better than I thought it would. But as you can see, again, let me go back to what I was saying. So when I press the gas pedal, you hear it rev, and then I take my foot off the gas pedal, and you kind of hear like this die down, like it wants to shut off, you know, something along those lines, like it just doesn't have enough juice, like the gas isn't where it's supposed to be. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab my Edelbrock ProFlow 4 tablet, like that big old giant thing that they give you, the iPad. I'm gonna look at some of the numbers, I'm gonna see what it's saying. To be completely honest, I don't understand what I'm gonna be looking for. I'm just hoping that I see a bunch of red things start blinking. I'm gonna write down those numbers and talk to some of the guys up front, some of the sales guys, the tech guys who know what's actually going on with more of this stuff, and see if we can get some of this stuff dialed, see if there still is in fact a vacuum leak. So anyways guys, if this problem is catching your attention, or if you had something similar, stick around. The video is not done. We're gonna spend the next little bit of this whole journey trying to figure out why there's a freaking vacuum leak. So on to the next problem, as they say. So, first off, something that was not there before was these random popping noises. Now, I can't tell if it's some backfire or if it's something hitting. And that's unfortunate because it doesn't really sound like backfire. It doesn't sound as violent as backfire normally is. It sounds like there's something hitting, which I finally put the dust cover shield thing on my transmission. It was a pretty tight fit, so it might be the torque converter hitting that, which is really no big deal, or it could be something else. Now, I have no idea why my RPMs are super high. They're at like 1600, which at idle they need to be at like 800. And also my tablet is spazzing out, so. Ay. Fun times, guys. I'm gonna see if I could dial in that idle though, because that's totally weird. But I say that to say I'm not gonna bore you guys with that process. I'm gonna check in with you guys actually when we actually have something to share, when we've diagnosed a few of these problems. And so it might be a couple days from now, you know, it might be today, who knows? But we'll tag in with you guys then. Peace. Is this a new hack? Have you guys ever done that before?